Is this King Gambit coming in? No, it's Tauros. So this expanding force is going to hit both Pokemon very hard. KO's Tauros, not Electabuzz. Electabuzz throws back a Thunderbolt, which wouldn't have been a big deal except that it paralyzed Delphox. That's a bit unfortunate. Welcome back. Hopefully you know the deal here by now, and if not, you should check out my Feraligatr and Sceptile videos from the last couple weeks. They were way more fun to make than I honestly even expected. But I said I'd be featuring a Fire-type starter this time, and to be honest, it's a little bit harder for me to pick a particular favorite Fire-type starter to go with. I mean, it's doable. We could have had a fun video with like Charizard or Jotonian Typhlosion, but those just don't hit for me in quite the same way that Feraligatr and Sceptile do. I'm not someone who always chooses the same starter type every game, but it's safe to say that I do, in broad strokes, have one that tends to be my favorite, and it's not Fire. More about that later, maybe. But instead, the starter that I've decided to go with here is Delphox. We're in a little bit of a Kalos-focused time with Pokemon Legends ZA supposedly coming out next year. At time of recording, there's still not much news about that, but still looking forward to it. And of course, I did my Pokemon X playthrough on this channel earlier this year. I used Fennekin as my starter in that one because Delphox is my favorite fully evolved Kalos starter. So I think it's appropriate to give Delphox one more moment here before the end of the year. Delphox generally is used as a size spam piece these days with Expanding Force. It fits pretty straightforwardly onto size spam, Trick Room, Sun type teams. So even though Delphox itself is fast, and that's kind of its niche, that it's the fastest, well, a fast Expanding Force user, plus it can hit Steel types with its Fire Stab. It still works well on the same kinds of teams as Pokemon like Armarouge because you can use that speed where it's useful, and otherwise you can go to Trick Room stuff with like Torkoal and Ursaluna. You can even have Torkoal set up the Sun to boost Delphox's fire attacks so that its Psychic and Fire attacks are both hitting extremely hard. Pretty straightforward stuff. So the next piece we want with Delphox, we want to set Psychic Terrain, so that means Indeedee. I'm going to go with female Indeedee this time because honestly, I'm not that sold on male Indeedee. I know at time of recording it's kind of the more, at least it feels like the more meta-relevant one right now, and it won a regional and whatnot, but when I tried out that regional winning team, I wasn't really feeling the Indeedee that much. And I like female Indeedee's support toolkit a bit more. Then we'll throw on a Sneasler. Sneasler is fun on these teams because I probably want Delphox to hold the Focus Sash, so that frees me up to use Psychic Seed, Unburden on Sneasler, go before all kinds of threats, and I can't spam Fake Out in Psychic Terrain, but I can certainly spam Dire Claw and see what luck we have with that. Up next, we'll definitely want an Ursaluna. I'm going to say the original form of Ursaluna, being somewhat of a more straightforward Trick Room threat and giving this team a little bit more physical power. Plus, I can run Coaching on Sneasler to boost this Ursaluna yet more. And maybe it won't be Delphox that opposing teams have to worry about, as Ursaluna does a ton of damage once it gets going with the Flame Orb and Guts as well. Finally, we need our Sunsetter. It, of course, is Torkoal, able to set up the Sun for its teammates and hit hard in Trick Room, being one of the slowest Pokemon. And then often Torkoal is paired with Hisui and Lilligant, so that Lilligant could click after you and Torkoal can get off a fairly safe Eruption. But on this team, I actually think I want to use Jumpluff. Jumpluff is a Pokemon that I've kind of wanted to try all through Scarlet and Violet, but I haven't very much, except the one time that I had it on my PDL team back before I was even recording that league. But I think I prefer Jumpluff here because it gets Tailwind for its speed control option, and that's going to be more beneficial to the likes of Delphox and Sneasler than Lilligant with After You is. And Jumpluff can also run Sleep Powder. Lilligant can do that too, but Jumpluff also gets Rage Powder, so I can redirect attacks away from these frail attackers here, give them a little bit more room to land their hits. I still have ways to get safe Eruptions with Torkoal, and of course Ursaluna can throw off a devastating Earthquake, potentially, next to the Flying-type Jumpluff, with Jumpluff covering for it with the Rage Powder. So those are the 6 Pokemon. I chose them fairly quickly, and I think they all make sense in a pretty straightforward way. We'll cut now to the finished team. And so here it is, Delphox, running both Heat Wave and Flamethrower so that it has a single target move to get around a possible opposing Wide Guard. I like Focus Sash with Magician because it gives Delphox a chance to steal an opponent's item once the Focus Sash has been used up. And Terra Psychic just to double down on doing a lot of damage with Expanding Force instead of worrying about a defensive Terra type, especially since this is a Sash Delphox. The Indeedee is pretty straightforward, running the Rocky Helmet. Generally, if I don't have a specific reason to be running like a Psychic Seed or something, I like that item on Indeedee. This is the typical Indeedee that I use a lot. Terra Fairy, pretty standard moves. Nothing too crazy to talk about here. We've got the Sneasler with the Psychic Seed, Unburden. I do have Terra Flying on it, even though I'm not running Acrobatics, because that way it can Terrastalize next to Ursaluna and click Coaching while Ursaluna goes for Earthquake, and I can safely Earthquake next to my own Sneasler with the Flying Terra without needing to protect on the same turn, so I have that coaching option available. Ursaluna running the Terra Ghost here to make it a little bit harder for opponents to take down, but it has the standard Flame Orb set standard attacks, going to hit extremely hard if we can get it going. The Torkoal here running sort of a mix of an offensive and supportive set. So I do have the Eruption, but this team isn't necessarily optimized to get the Eruption off very easily unless I have Trick Room up already. And I have the Helping Hand as well to potentially boost Delphox and Ursaluna. And finally, Covert Cloak Jump Bluff with all three of the support moves that I talked about in Tailwind, Sleep Powder, and Rage Powder, and also the Leaf Storm to make sure that it can do damage in a pinch. Terra Fire for defensive utility. So we'll already got it set up. Let's hop on the ladder and let's see what this team can do. As right off the bat we get a Charizard team. I believe this one is doing well in a regional that's happening in Europe right now. I guess that more or less reveals what day I'm recording this, but yeah, I'm not really surprised to see this team, but it's not exactly a mirror, but it's close enough to be definitely tricky in how best to approach it. I think I want to get my Tailwind up if I can. So I could just lead Torkoal Jump Bluff. Torkoal then doesn't have a ton of offensive presence into very many of these Pokemon though, right? Like, I'm not putting out much pressure if I lead Torkoal Jump Bluff. Maybe I need to lead Jump Bluff with something else. I don't have Fake Out on Sneasler. I could lead Jump Bluff Indeedee, get my terrain up right away. And then depending on how they lead, I could consider going for Trick Room. But I think I'll do Indeedee, Jump Bluff, Delphox. And then maybe Sneasler. Or Torkoal. Or Ursaluna. Those are my options, certainly. Let's actually do Ursaluna. And then the speed control game could be very tricky, but we're both running Tail Room teams. That's kind of how it goes. That Charizard is going to be doing big damage immediately to anything it targets. I have a ton of speed on Jump Bluff. In fact, I think I'm running max speed. In fact, I am. If this is a speed tie and I lose the speed tie, I might just lose the game with it. I could set Trick Room here instead. And switch Jump Bluff out to like Delphox and anticipate the opponent's Tailwind. Let's do that. It's not a sure thing that it works out, but if it does, it'll be pretty cool. I seem to be thinking about this one as well. It is definitely a tough position for both sides, as much as I'm focused on my own. Okay, Delphox comes in here. They switch Charizard out to Incineroar. That's not great. They don't set their Tailwind. And now Incineroar is actually going to have the advantage over Delphox in this Trick Room. I can Follow Me and like Heat Wave, or just Flamethrower the Jump Bluff, which is probably also running a Covert Cloak. But yeah, how do I beat this Incineroar later? I guess with Ursaluna. I could try to get Ursaluna in here, but that's pretty risky. I think I am just going to Follow Me and Flamethrower Jump Bluff, and hope that I can get Ursaluna positioned right a bit later. Maybe if the Indeedee goes down here, then Ursaluna can come in. Let's see. Terra Fire on the Jump Bluff, so Flamethrower is not going to knock it out. Indeedee actually takes the knockoff, gets a little bit of Rocky Helmet chip. I have one more Follow Me available, and I'll just click Expanding Force here. And again, the idea is to let Indeedee go down and get Ursaluna in. It'll only have a couple turns of Trick Room left, but hopefully that just will be enough. as Jumpluff lands the Sleep Powder into Delphox. That's not great, but yeah, we are just trying to win with Ursaluna at this point. I think I just go right for an Earthquake here. I mean, the Jumpluff's not going to take it very well after the Terra Fire. I don't love that I don't have my Guts yet, but I think I need to be doing damage with only 2 turns of Trick Room left, so let's just do it. And switch Delphox out to Jumpluff. Delphox has already consumed a sleep turn, so it could still wake up when it comes back in. It definitely... The odds aren't great, but it does have a chance to still be useful in this game. But Jumpluff lets me get the Earthquake off safely, doesn't quite KO Incineroar. Don't love to see that. Or the Parting Shot into Ursaluna. Might actually be best if I just sack Delphox from here, just to get Ursaluna in without the drops. That does mean I'm throwing away the last turn of Trick Room, though. I can Earthquake instead. And it's tough because Jumpluff might be taking an Ice Beam from this Porygon 2, and if that happens, then Jumpluff goes down, and I can't switch Ursaluna out. So I actually think I do have... If I'm gonna switch Ursaluna out, I actually think I have to do it here. I could Terra Fire Dusclops, Jumpluff. That does open up problems later. But it'll get it through this turn, and I can try to put the Porygon 2 to sleep. And I think letting my Pokemon go down too easily is just not the call here, especially when I am potentially sacking Delphox. Okay, we see the Charizard come in. Jumpluff does take that Ice Beam. Again, I can't safely Earthquake next to Jumpluff anymore, but I do think this is for the best. And I'm just going to try to Expanding Force Charizard and set Tailwind. Delphox is, of course, not guaranteed to wake up yet, but it is possible because it has had 1 sleep turn. They bring their Jumpluff in, they can set their Tailwind soon. Delphox doesn't wake up, but the Heat Wave with no Sun doesn't do too much to my Pokemon. However, their Jumpluff probably has Sunny Day, unlike mine, so they could get their Sun up here, or Tailwind. I'll once again go for the Expanding Force into Charizard, and I might as well click Sleep Powder into it as well. Or I could Sleep Powder their Jumpluff, actually, and try to deny whatever setup they go for here. Yeah, now that it's not a Grass type anymore, that works. Charizard takes about half from Expanding Force. Heat Wave misses my Jumpluff. Wasn't doing too much anyway. The damage on Delphox is adding up, but this Expanding Force now should KO if they let it. They also can switch Incineroar in. So I actually think I'm going to switch Jumpluff out to No, if I do that, then Ursaluna gets intimidated if Incineroar comes in. I'm just going to Sleep Powder this slot. Does that make sense? No, because Jumpluff is... Yeah, it does. I'm just going to Sleep Powder this slot. Yeah, I don't know if it's Safety Goggles or Ursaluna. It's Porygon 2 that's coming in anyway. It's already asleep. But it'll take an Expanding Force here. Does decent damage. I think a Flamethrower will KO from this range. Is there something else I should be doing? Honestly, is Porygon 2 surviving here even the worst thing? Maybe I should Expanding Force the Jumpluff. I can just Leaf Storm the Porygon 2. Does decent damage. Okay, Jumpluff wakes up here. They get their Tailwind. My Tailwind is about to end, but I can set it back up. I think I should try to finish their Jumpluff off. Again, they can switch Incineroar in, but what can I say? It's a tough position. They Sleep Powder my Jumpluff. Yeah, I guess fair enough. I guess they did have the same play available that I used on them earlier. Here's the Incineroar. I'm going to protect Delphox here and try to wake Jumpluff up. See if I can land a Leaf Storm into Porygon 2. If Jumpluff wakes up, then I probably have the option to Rage Powder next turn to cover Incineroar. Or Delphox. Okay, Porygon 2 doesn't wake up. I'm going to click Rage Powder here. If Jumpluff doesn't wake up, then Delphox goes down, but I get Ursaluna in. I think that's the best I can do here regardless. And I'll click Flamethrower into Porygon. I'll click Expanding Force into Porygon 2 to try to knock it out and cover a switch to Charizard. Don't get the Rage Powder, but the Expanding Force still goes off and KOs Porygon 2. Incineroar actually goes for the KO to Jumpluff here. So I still have Delphox against Charizard, and they can't switch Incineroar out now, so they can Parting Shot into Ursaluna, but they can't... what's it called? They can't Intimidate it anymore. I'll protect Delphox and go for an Earthquake here, try to KO Incineroar without dropping Ursaluna's defenses, but then Delphox should be able to finish Charizard off next turn. Unless they have a KO into Ursaluna here. Oh, they might. Okay, but they went for the knockoff into Delphox, so we do get the Earthquake. This will pick up Incineroar, and they forfeit because Delphox would KO Charizard next turn. This was definitely a tough matchup against a relatively highly rated opponent for me, and with a team that this very weekend, as I'm recording, is having some serious tournament success. But so I'm definitely happy with how I managed to kind of figure that one out in the end. The jump bluff going Terra Fire on both sides and trading Sleep Powders was a lot of fun. But yeah, Delphox and Ursaluna with all that offensive pressure I was talking about, able to close this one out nicely in the end. Now we have, I don't know what to call this, one of these teams. You know, one of these teams. Rillaboom, Volcarona, okay. So not as good for Ursaluna. Delphox has some problems here too, but the thing about Delphox is it's a Psy Spam Pokemon that also is faster than Kingambit and threatens it with fire attacks, and Sucker Punch won't work in Psychic Terrain. Of course, they can set Grassy Terrain up with their Rillaboom, but I kind of want to just lead Delphox and Didi, see what I can do with that. Expanding Force hits hard into anything here except Kingambit, and Volcarona has some ways to play around it, but they might bring the Rillaboom. I might have to be careful with Indeedee, but we'll see. I'll bring Torkoal as well because, yeah, their Kingambit is something to worry about for sure. I can also bring Sneasler. Sneasler is strong into a few of these Pokemon. Well, mostly Kingambit and Rillaboom. But I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm actually going to bring Sneasler and Torkoal and try to see if that can work. It's a little bit awkward, but okay. We see Electabuzz and Dragapult. I think I will just go right for an Expanding Force, and honestly might as well Helping Hand. Dragapult can Phantom Force if it wants. If it does that, though, I think you can redirect Phantom Force between the two turns, so I could redirect it to Indeedee into the immunity. Instead, it U-turns. Is this Kingambit coming in? No, it's Tauros. So this Expanding Force is going to hit both Pokemon very hard. KO's Tauros, not Electabuzz. Electabuzz throws back a Thunderbolt, which wouldn't have been a big deal except that it paralyzed Delphox. That's a bit unfortunate, to say the least. But I kind of want to just try to protect Delphox and set Trick Room here, right? I could even Terra Fairy to cover for a Bug Buzz, and it'll boost Dazzling Gleam a little bit into Dragapult in the endgame. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Try to set Trick Room. Delphox should be slower than Volcarona now. Quiver Dance is a problem, obviously, but yeah, if I break through the full para, I should get another Expanding Force off here. We'll go Helping Hand again. And then I guess try to win with Torkoal and Indeedee. And once Delphox goes down, obviously I'm making Sneasler's life a little harder setting up Trick Room, but I feel like Sneasler's just not my most important piece here. Oh, okay, full para, that's unfortunate, but it happens. I get another Quiver Dance. I will get another chance to go for an Expanding Force here, but it's not going to do too much, I think, into the Volcarona at this point. And they get to protect Electabuzz, too. Oh, they protect both. Well, Delphox is fully paralyzed anyway. Let's try this one more time. And you know what? It's not necessarily the worst thing if they stall out my Trick Room, considering that I have Sneasler in the back. But again, I think Torkoal is the more important late-game Pokemon here. That'll KO both of my Pokemon. I was kind of hoping Indeedee would survive longer, but hey, I let the Volcarona get to +2. Last turn of Trick Room, they can just protect here. Also, I don't know how I beat Dragapult at this point. Yeah, that's actually a pretty big problem. I'm going to protect Sneasler and just go for an Eruption, but they can protect around that. Well, at least with Volcarona, the Dragapult might be Choice Banded or something. Takes about half, not too bad. It has Shadow Ball, so it's a mixed Dragapult. I'm just going to Dire Claw Volcarona and hope for the best. Obviously, Sneasler could get burned here, but there are also a lot of things that could happen to Volcarona. Actually, Volcarona is just going to be faster than Sneasler, isn't it? So it's just going to KO, and I'll lose. But, hey, we gave it a try. Oh, they actually missed Sneasler with the Heat Wave. But connect with the Shadow Ball. And Eruption is now pretty badly nerfed. Doesn't even get the KO into Dragapult. Okay, so I'm not confident that I win that one even without the paralysis, but the paralysis was pretty unfortunate. Is what it is, though. That's how this game goes. Sometimes it turns on things like that, and I don't know if that game even necessarily did. Okay, we got another Sneasler team here with Dragapult, Rillaboom, and friends. Another Volcarona. Maybe I need to be bringing Ursaluna to Volcarona matchups. That could have been pretty strong there. Especially if the Dragapult was choiced, and we don't know what its item was last game. Probably not choice banned if it was clicking Shadow Ball, but yeah, this might be a good one to get Trick Room up and try to get Ursaluna going, and maybe Volcarona, or maybe Torkoal again as well. I could even, if I want, go for coaching into Ursaluna first. But I don't know, I feel like this one's hard if I don't get Trick Room up quickly. I could just like lead Sneasler and DD and just Dire Claw stuff while I get Trick Room up. Or I could lead in DD Ursaluna, try to get my burn right away. I think we're going to do that, but I will bring Sneasler. Let's see. We're taking some time with this one as well. Okay, Indeedee and Ursaluna against Dragapult and Arcanine. Not really what I want to see, because it does get the Intimidate there. But I will protect Ursaluna to get it burned, and I'll try to set Trick Room. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should have brought Jump Bluff for just to have a flying type to put next to Ursaluna. But we see that it's Terra Water Arcanine, so I might as well click Facade into it from here if I want. They'll get their Grassy Terrain up. They, more importantly, will deny my Trick Room. That's a real problem, for sure. But what I can do, actually, is get Sneasler in. The problem is the Rillaboom. Because what I want to do is Sneasler, Terra Flying, Coaching, attack with Ursaluna. The problem is the Rillaboom can hit Ursaluna first with a Grassy Glide or a Wood Hammer. So what I think what I do here actually is I'll bring Sneasler in. I'm gonna protect Sneasler this turn and switch Ursaluna out to Torkoal. And I think I'm still hoping that I can get a coaching into Ursaluna later, but I don't think the position is right for it right now. If they manage to deny me that for the whole game, then good for them, but that's what I'd like to accomplish here. They actually go for the fake out into the Ursaluna slot, so I have missed a chance to Dire Claw Rillaboom there. I'll try to take it. I am worried about the Arcanine just ripping a Flare Blitz into Sneasler. I actually think I'll Dire Claw the Arcanine here and just click Overheat into Rillaboom. Switches out to Dragapult. Dire Claw paralyzes Arcanine and gets the full para. So hey, that makes up a little bit for last game, right? And I feel pretty good to just Dire Claw the Arcanine slot again here and click Eruption. Try to pick up the Dragapult. They'll get their Dragon Darts off first. Sneasler survives. Arcanine goes down. Dragapult goes down. Even if I lose Sneasler, I still haven't used my Terra, so I will have the Ghost Terra available to Ursaluna, and they have no more Intimidate. They do have their own Sneasler. And that might be actually where this one is going, that I try to win with Terra Ghost Ursaluna in the back. I'll double protect here around possible Sneasler fake out. Or Rillaboom fake out for that matter. Swords Dance Sneasler. Okay, might just lose to that. Might just lose to that, but we'll try not to. I'll just Dire Claw, Rillaboom, and Overheat Sneasler. Try to do what I can to these Pokemon. Torkoal takes the Acrobatics. Rillaboom is paralyzed by the Dire Claw. And they miss KOs into both of my Pokemon this turn. I don't KO either of theirs either, but I get some damage. I guess their Sneasler can take its pick of a KO here, but I'll just double into it with Close Combat and Overheat. Okay, I lose my Sneasler. Paralyzed Rillaboom actually still goes before my min speed Torkoal. Probably should have realized. But I'll bring Ursaluna in here. Terra Ghost, click Earthquake, and hope for the best. Acrobatics does a little more than half, and Woodhammer KOs Ursaluna. So we don't manage the best. That might have been doable if it weren't Swords Dance Sneasler, but hey, that's the advantage of running a surprise in. Well, maybe this is a known team. I don't know. It was surprising to me running a surprise in best of one, right? So good for that opponent. And we'll see what we get next. We get some more balancy stuff. This one with a Magmar. This is what, the third Rillaboom in a row? Makes it a little harder to do Psy Spam. Try Sun Mode. I don't know. Honestly, let's do it. Let's lean into Delphox as an offensive threat to Rillaboom. Let's bring, like, Delphox. No. Torkoal, Jumpluff, Delphox, Indeedee. That's silly. Why am I not bringing why am I not bringing Sneasler? How about Indeedee, Sneasler, Delphox? Jumpluff. Then I don't have Sun, but we'll try to figure it out. Maybe it was worth running Sunny Day on Jumpluff. I don't like having a Pokemon with no attacking move. That always makes me uneasy, because you just lose an endgame if you're down to just that one Pokemon, always. And also just like with Focus Sash being a common item and so on, having that little bit of damage available is usually nice. But yeah, Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, Close Combat, King Gambit. But, oh, Dragon Darts is going to go into Sneasler twice now, isn't it? Oh, it's just Outrage. Oh, and into Indeedee. That works. And I can follow me now pretty safely. And actually, let's just Dire Claw the Dragapult slot. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, I know the Jumpluff on, for example, that team I played in the first game doesn't run an attack, and it has Sunny Day instead. But I get nervous doing that kind of thing. I'd prefer to have an attack. Bring my Jumpluff in here and try to Dire Claw Primarina. They can redirect it to Magmar, but they don't, so we one-shot Primarina. They burn Sneasler, okay. But Sneasler still put in some work. And I'll go for my Tailwind here. I don't know that I'll get it. The Dragapult can probably just... Well, the Dragapult is slower than my Sneasler. Otherwise, it can probably just KO anything it wants, but... In that case, I'm actually better off switching Indeedee back in, I think. And I'll try to Dire Claw Dragapult. Even if it's redirected into Magmar, and even with the burn, I can potentially get a status. Okay, Sneasler's going to drop to Dragon Darts because of the smart targeting. But I can get Delphox in here, and I think just follow me, use the last turn of Psychic Terrain for a big expanding force. The Dragapult is locked into Dragon Darts. I don't know for sure, but I think follow me will override the smart targeting. Pretty sure that works. As sure enough it does. They'll get King Gambit in next to Dragapult, but what? They can follow me. Well, in that case, I think I just prioritize getting rid of the Magmar. So I'll follow me and Expanding Force Magmar. Yeah. And then I'm looking to get rid of it so I can land a fire attack into King Gambit. That Sucker Punch is very good because they still have no damage on Indeedee, and actually they forfeit after that. One more Expanding Force would KO Magmar. They could protect, I suppose, but I don't know. I'm always targeting Magmar there. But King Gambit is not going to remove Indeedee quickly enough, so I will get the Flamethrower into it afterward. So Delphox really came through in that one. Now we got another Rillaboom, but also a Klefki. So this is probably going to be some Annihilate Screens stuff, which, hey, I'm an Annihilate Screens enjoyer at time of recording. That stuff is pretty hard to deal with. Although a big Expanding Force ought to help. So I could just lead Indeedee Delphox. That potentially loses to Volcarona. It potentially has Klefki issues with certain teammates, because the Klefki is probably here to set Manual Rain as well as Screens. But still think it might be for the best. And what I can do, actually... what's the best way to play this? I might do Delphox, Indeedee, Sneasler, Ursaluna. Okay, Klefki and Volcarona. Not really the Pokemon I wanted to see here. Bad news for me if the Volcarona gets set up. I think I'll just go right out to Ursaluna here and go for Trick Room. They bring in Rillaboom. They get rid of my terrain, but that's okay, I think. The bigger problem is that the Rillaboom, of course, is a threat to Ursaluna. I probably just want to Terra Ghost right here and click Facade into Volcarona. And I'm going to hard switch Indeedee out to Sneasler. That preserves Indeedee to use with Delphox later in the game. And Sneasler is in a tough spot with the Trick Room up, but maybe I can get a coaching into Ursaluna. See the Klefki here. I'm going to click Facade into Rillaboom, and I am going to click Coaching. It'll go after Ursaluna's move, but I do think I'll get the chance to use it, most likely. They Reflect. That does a lot. Or that keeps Rillaboom on the field is what I mean. But Rillaboom drops to Woodhammer Recoil. I get my coaching here. Ursaluna is pretty low. However, as we see, Dragonite is their last Pokemon. Of course, they can't Extreme Speed Ursaluna because of the Ghost Terra, so I'm just going to click Facade into Dragonite, and might as well just Dire Claw into it as well, I think. Facade KOs. Dire Claw will do nothing to Klefki, but Klefki is not beating Delphox in the back. In fact, I don't know that it's even beating Ursaluna. And we don't find out because they forfeit, so that was a pretty smooth game there for Ursaluna and Sneasler. Delphox didn't really put in a lot of work, but I think it's fair to say that it kept up some pressure, and I liked what it could do in the back against the Pokemon like Rillaboom and Klefki. So even if Ursaluna did go down relatively quickly, which looked like a possibility at times there, I was reasonably confident that Delphox could clean it up in the end game. And we'll see what's next. Dondozo, but no Tatsugiri, but a lot of scary, bulky Pokemon for sure. And Mousehold, which isn't bulky, but is scary. Well, I'm not really relying on stat boosts here, at least not the kind that Dondozo will ignore. Also, Dire Claw potentially ruins a few of these Pokemon, although not Goldengo. Not really Glamora either, in the same kind of way. But I kind of think I want to just lead Delphox and Indeedee. The only Pokemon that really wants to take Expanding Force here is Goldengo, and it doesn't want to take a Fire attack. I will bring Sneasler. And then I think it's either Torkoal or Ursaluna. Torkoal might be easier to position here, but my gut is saying Ursaluna. Especially if I can preserve the Terra Ghost into Mousehold if I need to. Okay, Glamora and Dusclops. I'm just going to go right for Helping Hand, Expanding Force, I think. Glimmora will be slower than Delphox. Glimmora could have a Focus Sash, though. But I think that's relatively unlikely. I think they more often run Power Herb and maybe sometimes Assault Vest. So I will just Helping Hand Expanding Force here. Let's see. Okay, they get Gholdengo in, but Glimmora does drop to this, and actually Gholdengo takes quite a bit too. That's our last Pokemon, or are they just going to show me Dusclops again? Dusclops again. I can just Heat Wave, but Gholdengo might have some Terra type that gets around that. I actually think I'm going to Expanding Force and Follow Me. That'll protect Delphox from a Shadow Ball. They go Make It Rain instead. Of course, Delphox resists. But I was checking whether the Gholdengo would Terrasilize there. And actually now, even if it doesn't Terrasilize, another Expanding Force will KO. So I can Expanding Force and Helping Hand again here. Also redirected that Nightshade from Dusclops, which is kind of nice. Now the Gholdengo is, I didn't realize, I saw last turn that it was faster, but I didn't think about it. I guess it's running a Choice Scarf. But we do KO it here. They get Trick Room up. That could be very good for their last Pokemon, which is Dondozo. But I feel pretty safe. They could have Earthquake. You know what? I'm actually going to Terra Psychic Delphox here. Try to get a bigger Expanding Force, but also if they have Earthquake, I don't know that it will KO with Dondozo unboosted, and I'll Follow Me to redirect any other attack away from Delphox. We know Indeedee is immune to the Nightshade, so the Dusclops isn't a threat to knock it out, as we actually see Yawn from Dondozo. Indeedee will be drowsy, but I'm okay with that. I think there's a chance that Dondozo protects here to make Indeedee fall asleep, so I'm going to Expanding Force and switch to Ursaluna. Even if this doesn't work out, Dondozo is alone with nothing to boost it, so it can probably handle it with, especially now that it's gone Terra Steel with Sneasler in the back. But it actually just sets up Curse. I'd like to land a Flamethrower into that, but a Headlong Rush should work too. They choose to attack Ursaluna, doesn't KO with only +1 on Dondozo, and the Headlong Rush does finish it off. So Ursaluna getting the last KO there, but we saw the Delphox put in a lot of work in that game, as this opposing team was just not able to stand up to its attacks. Even the Gholdengo being 3-hit KO'd by the Expanding Force, while Make It Rain just didn't do enough back into the resistance and with the drops. So, good Delphox game there. Here we have... Okay, this Dondozo is paired with a Tatsugiri. That, I think, is harder to deal with, for sure. I don't know my Dondozo matchup with this team. I kind of want to just lead Indeedee Delphox again. The Dragonite could have Ice Spinner, but I don't really have anything better into the Dragonite. But I think I want to bring Sneasler to this one, and I could bring Ursaluna again. It's not really useful into the Dondozo mode, but it's strong into the rest of their team. Or I could bring Jumpluff to put Dondozo to sleep and maybe quick Rage Powder in a pinch. But Dondozo helps against Jumpluff and kind of loses to the rest of their team. Jumpluff helps against Dondozo and kind of loses to the rest of their team. I think I said the names in the wrong order there. I'm going to bring Ursaluna, but hey, it's best of one. These are tricky calls to make. We'll see how it goes. So, Gholdengo Talonflame. I kind of want to just Follow Me and Expanding Force and cover for a possible Terra on the Gholdengo again. We do see the Terra, but it's Steel, so Heat Wave would have been better. Make It Rain does more than half the Delphox, but of course it will be dropped here, and Indeedee survives the turn, so I can not Flamethrower, I can Heat Wave and Follow Me here. Actually, it's going to be single target Make It Rain. I didn't think that all the way through. This might KO. Yeah, it does. Oh well. Okay, probably lose this one, but we'll see. Not over yet. As here, I think... I might as well just Terra Flying Sneasler, Dire Claw, Talonflame, and Earthquake. Talonflame will go first. It actually KOs itself with the Brave Bird recoil there. And Gholdengo will knock out Sneasler. So if I clicked Close Combat into Gholdengo, then I would have both Pokemon get through that turn. Bit of a throw going for the Dire Claw there. Just not properly thinking my plays through in this one, but we'll go down swinging. Try to get a Facade into this Dondozo. Instead we drop to a Wave Crash, but I think this was always going to be a hard team. My opponent is a decent ways up there on the ladder. This was always going to be a hard team for this one to deal with, but yeah, I didn't think my plays all the way through there. If I had gotten Sneasler through that last turn by clicking Close Combat into Gholdengo, then I could have tried a Dire Claw into Dondozo. Actually, maybe not with it at +2 speed and Tailwind. But yeah, I could have protected my Pokemon. I don't know, maybe there was a way, but it was a tough matchup for sure. But first for Alligator, then Sceptile, and now Delphox have genuinely put in more work than I expected. I knew that there were a lot of good starter Pokemon in this format, but I've been really impressed with these particular favorites that I've chosen for sentimental reasons, or because it's a relevant time in Pokemon history for them in the case of Delphox. We saw it do some good work in this video, and there's just one more video left in this small little series. So far it's been an even split of Fire, Water, and Grass starters featured. We are going to break that next week. I'm just going to tell you now, the next one is not Pikachu or Eevee. It is a starter of one of the traditional types, and it's going to be an interesting time for sure. I think it's going to be harder than this one, but you'll just have to tune in next week to see how that goes.